Well, I don't know the specific terminology for the Friday the 13th. Maybe Mark does by now. I don't know. Welcome in to the Unash Dukes podcast for this Friday the 13th, our second consecutive Friday the 13th, by the way. You got through the first one okay. Um, you're getting through the second one. We'll be okay. We are presented by Emel's Hideaway at First Avenue Southeast in Cedar Rapids, right across from the Lindale Mall, next to the Home Depot, open at 4 o'clock Monday through Saturday. You can probably go meet Rusty there if you
Yeah.
as soon as we're done and talk it all out. So, without full disclosure to our audience out there. And we thank everybody for chiming in, tuning in, viewing us wherever you may be. Again, big thanks to Emel's Hideaway, as well as our other great sponsors. They are Dr. John Woolner at Epiphany Dermatology, Council Street Northeast in Cedar Rapids. American Family Insurance agent Kurt Gustafson on Johnson Avenue Northwest. Ben Ritter Sportswear downtown, and Hunt Graphic Innovations. Of course, they are the folks that run our great website at crmlivesports.com. And Selection Sunday coming up on Sunday. It's all basketball all the time this weekend, except for a little of a, depending on who you talk to, a major or non-major golf event coming up this weekend. Other than that, it's a lot of round ball, Mark. One of my favorite times of the year this week.
Yeah, it is. Between now and Sunday, it's going to be so interesting because looking at the bracketologies today, it changed a lot overnight and it's going to change a lot before Sunday. But, a lot of teams are solidified in the tournament. It's just a matter of placing and maybe a little bit of jockeying for the 1 and 2 seeds. But as far as the state schools go, we know UNI is in. I think 98, 99% sure that Iowa's in, if not 100%. And just where Iowa State will land after making it to the semifinals of the tournament. For the rest of the nation, it's a mixed bag. If you're an Auburn fan or if you're a Miami, Ohio fan, if you're an Akron fan, right on down the line. But it's a fun weekend. It's going to be a fun couple weeks, starting Sunday and then getting into the first four and the first round games.
Yeah, it will be. Going to be a lot of fun. And I'm really looking forward to how Iowa State does tonight. Iowa State with a win tonight, Mark. Do they go to the two line? They're one, Joe Lenardi moved Iowa State up to the two line after the win over Texas Tech. Uh, he's coming out with an hourly update on his bracketology. By the way, I'd like to know again. I've said this before. I don't know. I should have went to college to become a bracketologist. Is there a major of bracketology? I don't know. Doctor of bracketology, whatever the case may be. But Joe Lenardi's got an Iowa State at a 2 right now. I with a win tonight, I think Iowa State, depending on how everything else plays out, may end up on that 2 line. Um, Loss, maybe back to 3. I don't know. They're going to be a 2 or a 3, and there's not a whole lot of difference between a 2 and a 3.
A lot of people dabble in the bracketology, but Lenardi's as good as they come. And he does have Iowa State on the two line going into today. CBS Sports, for example, had Iowa State at 3. So with a win, quite possibly Iowa State will move up to a 2. Uh, it's going to be no worse than a 3. I guess it depends on how if they perform as good on the maple wood floor as they do on the glass floor.
Great place to start. Floorgate. Uh, Brent Yormark, the commissioner of the Big 12. And I listen, he's done a lot of things over the years to step up the Big 12, uh, publicity wise. And it's a never ending battle, I think, for the Big 12 against the SEC and the Big 10. And they tried the glass court. They did it in the NBA All Star weekend. They didn't actually play the game on that court. They had to go out and get a brand new court. And they tried it for the entirety of the Big 12 tournament. We didn't hear much about it during the Big 12 women's basketball tournament. You heard a little bit about it, but you know, whatever the case may be, move on to the men's tournament. And I think the final blow was Christian Anderson of Texas Tech going down and slipping on the court. Texas Tech already losing Toppin for the year, and there were a lot of people with their hearts in their throats when Anderson went down. The game was out of hand at that point. Texas Tech was not going to come back and beat Iowa State yesterday, but it was a bad optic for the Big 12 to have him go down and have other teams complaining about the fact that the glass floor was slippery, et cetera, et cetera. It was kind of a mixed bag if you asked coaches. I think they were holding the Big 12 line for this. Um, the bottom line is we have a new court at the T-Mobile Center. I don't know where they got it. If it was in mothballs, if it's the old Kansas City Omaha Kings court, I have no idea. If they had to bring one in from UK, Kansas City, UMKC, the Kangaroos, I don't know where they got it from. There's going to be a real court out there for the semifinals.
Well, number one, I think the Big 12, I have to give them credit for thinking outside the box because every square inch of everything that you do in terms of the basketball tournament, it's the court. And if you can maximize advertising opportunities and graphics and enhancing the product for the people that are there, great. By the way, there's a corner right up here on the box on my side that's available for sponsorship. Um, at any rate, I give them a credit for that, thinking outside the box. I think the intent was there. I mean, as you mentioned, the NBA has tried it. Some European teams have the glass floors, but I think Yormark heard enough. And there was complaints during the women's tournament. Why it wasn't switched at that point, I don't know. But uh, all these guys are used to playing on a wood floor, by and large. I mean, there's synthetic courts out there that, you have some tournaments played on, but by and large, basketball is meant to play on a wood floor, whether it's maple or parquet or whatever it may be. It's meant to be played on a wood floor, and I think you only the slippage that has happened in the NBA. Placing the glass floor was a good idea to improve them a little bit. Otherwise, it's not going to work, I don't think.
So we're back to normal for this evening for the semifinals and the
Yeah.
finals at the Big 12. And like we said, it's a big game for Iowa. This is as good of a semifinal back to back set of games as anyone is going to have. We've said it all year. Top five, maybe six in the Big 12, probably as good at, maybe better than any other conference in America. And this is a showcase tonight. I mean, Iowa State, it's Hilton South. Thousands of people are down there wearing red and yellow. It's going to be a completely different game than it was down at the McKale Center for Iowa State and Arizona a couple weeks ago. It's going to be an Iowa State crowd, and Tommy Lloyd is not happy. He has not been happy since he set foot in Kansas City. He wants the Big 12 tournament to be moved to Las Vegas, a more centralized location. Gee, I wonder why, Mark, he wants the Big 12 tournament moved to Las Vegas. Hmm. Oh, yeah, within distance of Arizona. I get it. That's not centrally located for the Big 12. Um, it's been a mainstay in Kansas City. It's going to stay in Kansas City. There are a couple years they moved it to Dallas, but it's not leaving. This is where it should be. This is the traditional location of the Big 12 tournament, and Iowa State has taken advantage of that over the years. This is a great opportunity. It's what, 3 hours from Ames to Kansas City? And every year, a sea of Cardinal and gold makes their way down I-35 and cheers on both the men's and the women's teams. Didn't go well for the women this year, but for the men, it has gone well. And Iowa State looks like they got their swagger back. Taman Lipsey was terrific against Texas Tech. And I think I can see Iowa State winning this semifinal game pretty easily.
I don't know. Arizona's really good. The Iowa State's going to have to continue to play as good as it has been. I think the tournament being in Kansas City, I mean, why fix what's not broken type thing, especially now that the Big 12 has expanded to Florida, to Arizona. Kansas City just seems like it's beneficial to Kansas. It's beneficial to Iowa State, but so what? If you move it to Las Vegas, it's not going to be beneficial to anybody, pretty much. Maybe a little bit more for the Arizonas and Arizona States, but in terms of the game itself, I think I can see it both ways. I think it's going to be different than the game that was in Tempe, but uh, from what I watched of Arizona, they're really, really good.
They already have two other tournaments, at least two other tournaments already held in Las Vegas.
Hmm.
Might even be three. You don't need a fourth tournament. I understand Las Vegas has got all the glitz and glamour and a lot of hotel rooms. But like you said, does UCF really want to travel to Las Vegas for the Big 12 men's basketball tournament? No. Kansas City is more of a central location. And
Yeah.
they're not going to move it any. Like you said, why mess with tradition? Why mess with something that works? So I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon.
No, I don't think so. But the point of the game, Iowa State uh, has done very well in Kansas City this year because of its defense. The defense leads to the offense, and Momcilovic has been on. Lipsey is, like you said, had 20 points in the game against Texas Tech, and Jefferson is very solid. I'm not sure he's a first team All-America, but some people say he is.
He's
At any rate, huh?
he's very good, but he's not a first team All American.
Well, yeah, that putting that aside, when those all those cylinders click together and you got Torrey playing well and guys coming off the bench, this is a very dangerous team in Iowa State. Um, Arizona, I think it just has that it factor. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong, for the sake of Iowa State fans.
Kansas and Houston, the other semifinal.
Yeah.
Um, like I said, with the Iowa State win and a Houston loss, I think Iowa State stays on that two line, no matter what Iowa State would do in the championship game. I
Hmm.
really think that Iowa State moves up to the two.
What if Kansas or if Houston and Iowa State advance to the championship game? And is the winner of that game get a two?
Depends on how Michigan,
Or they may both get a two.
but then you got Arizona. They move down to a two. I think they almost have to, right? Or how much do you put into stock of the regular season championship? Remember, right? Yeah, exactly. That's what everybody's complaining about this year. There seems to be a complaint every year in March. This year, it is woe begone. What happened to those poor regular season champions that play a 22, 20, 18 game schedule and then get their hearts ripped out, no matter what size conference it is? And I think that was all predicated on the fact of your favorite team, the Red Hawks of Miami of Ohio, going down in the quarterfinals to little old UMass in the Maction Championship tournament the other day.
Frank Martin factor. I didn't know Frank Martin was a coach at UMass until a couple days ago, but they
Nobody
pulled it
knew.
off. Uh, they pulled it off, and Miami's going to get in. I think Lenardi has them at 11 as an at-large, and CBS Sports has them at as a 10. Whether they deserve that, 31 and one, I think it is debatable, given the three-fourths of the schedule against quad three and four teams. That's not very impressive. It's not impressive losing in the in the early going to UMass in the conference tournament. But apparently, the people that know the business think that the Red Hawks are in. Um, do you?
Yes, they won 31 games. I don't care who you're playing. You were 31 and
Okay,
1.
so you're saying you shoot three under at Twin Pines is the same as shooting three under at Blue Top Ridge? No.
No, I about, but they're in. They're in. And again, the same argument that, okay, according to Joe Lenardi and other bracketologists, right on the bubble, either last team in or first team out, the Auburn Tigers.
Who
Auburn
blew
is
it?
Auburn is 17 and 16. Granted, they've played in a maybe the best conference top to bottom in America. I'm saying maybe. Don't get mad at me. Don't send comments, Big 12 and Big 10 fans. Maybe the best, one of the best three conferences in America. Let's just put it that way. Way under 500 as far as their league is concerned. Had a chance to win a game to get them into the tournament, didn't, to drop them to 17 and 16. I, I've said for a long time, Mark, I don't think the teams that are under 500 in their league should get to go to the NCAA tournament. Um, I just think it's a bad optic out there. I think it's a bad optic to have a 17 and 16 Auburn team in. If you put there any other name on those jerseys other than Auburn, who got to the Final Four last year under Bruce Pearl, um, are they in? No, they're probably not in. They're not even close. They're not even being talked about. But it's
Okay,
Auburn.
okay. So you're saying Miami is in and Auburn's out. What if they switch conferences and they switch schedules? I'm guessing Miami may be 17 and 16, if not worse. And Auburn probably will go unbeaten in that league and against that schedule.
True.
So what I'm saying is the quality of teams. I'm not saying Auburn should be in. Um, but you're saying Miami is in because it's 31 and 1. But against who? If they played Auburn's schedule, conference and non-conference, they'd be around 500, my guess.
And they wouldn't be in. I would have them out. And I would have Auburn in if they played Miami of Ohio's schedule.
All right.
Mac's going to get two teams in. Good for Maction. You know, it's not just for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday nights in the fall. Um, it is one of our favorite conferences out there. Um, it is the Unash and Dukes podcast coming your way here on a Friday as we talk NCAA basketball. Of course, in 5 hours, everything we talk about today is going to
Yeah.
change because there's going to be upsets up and down the line, and everything's going to be messed up. Um, Santa Clara is in from the West Coast Conference. They're going to get three in. That's good to see. When Santa Clara beat St. Mary's, they were in. Um, other teams know when they need to win a game to get into March Madness. And that's what makes it so much fun. And, and us talking about it and people listening and viewing it makes it so much fun. Um, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe Miami's the first four team. Who knows? They might slip down to Dayton and have to play.
Watch them go on a run and make the Sweet 16 and, throw egg in my face. And if that happens, great. I don't think it's going to, but you're right. We're talking at mid-afternoon on Friday, and by the time you wake up Saturday morning and listen to this, some of this may be out the window. But nevertheless, we know what we know right now, and what we know is we got some great Big 12 games tonight, and we know UNI is in the tournament, and we're pretty sure I was in the tournament.
Yeah, for you, before we get to the Hawks, you and I, was pretty much slated as a 12. I've
Hmm.
seen, I think Lenardi moved him down to a 13 today. Um, I don't know if it's that much of a slide, but we know what the 5-12 history has been in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
Every year, a 5 goes down to a 12. And I'm not so sure he wanted to play and go up and try to match wits with Ben Jacobson as a 5, um, depending on where everybody goes. And speaking of that, pretty good chance Iowa State probably ends up in St. Louis. Another very capable drive from Ames. That seems to be the speculation. Interestingly enough, Houston, if everything works out, could play almost home games in the regional semifinal and the regional final, due to the fact that Houston is one of the hosts, but it's not the University of Houston that's a host for the regional in Houston, if that makes any sense, Mark. Which I think is
Well, it's like
also
when,
a dumb rule.
yeah, it's kind of like when Drake hosted, but Drake wasn't in it. Or, Iowa and Iowa State benefit from that, whether it's a men's or women's tournament, that type of thing. So, um, it's it's not it's more neutral than the women's tournament. Let's just say that.
Well, the women will never, I shouldn't say ever, but I cannot foresee the women's tournament getting out of campus hosts for the first 2 games. It makes too much sense. Brings in
No,
too much.
too many teams like Iowa sell out. UConn, back in the day, I don't know if Tennessee still does, South Carolina. Why would you turn down that money?
Exactly. And the NCAA loves money.
Yeah.
That we know. Unash and Duke's podcast brought to you by Emil's Hideaway in First Avenue Southeast in Cedar Rapids. They are open at 4 o'clock Monday through Saturday, right across from the Lindale Mall and next to the Home Depot. Thanks to Kirk Gustafson Agency of American Family Insurance, Johnson Avenue Northwest, Ben Ritter Sportswear in downtown Cedar Rapids, Dr. John Woolner at Epiphany Dermatology on Council Street Northeast, and Hunt Graphic Innovations. They're all the great sponsors of the Unash and Duke's podcast. And if you'd like to have your company logo right up there next to Mark, contact us and we will make that happen.
Yeah, I suggest
Iowa.
my favorite plumber after today.
Okay.
I'll contact them.
Contact your favorite plumber after today. Hawkeyes. Uh, Tell me if you've heard this before. Another very good effort against Ohio State, but a loss against Ohio State in the 8-9 game in the third round of the Big Ten tournament. Iowa goes home for a week, rest up a little bit, and see where if they'll play on Thursday or Friday next week. Probably, I got to think a 9 line for Iowa at this point. I guess they could shuffle down to a 10, perhaps. There are some people out there saying, "Oh, this is a team that's going to be in the first 4." I don't foresee that, but we'll know on Sunday afternoon. But I think Iowa's solidly in, and I think Iowa's probably solidly on that 9 line.
Yeah, a 10 at worst. I was going to be in the field and could have improved, I guess, with a victory over Ohio State. I don't think it probably would have beat Michigan. Ohio State gave Michigan a heck of a go, but it just didn't work out for Iowa in the postseason. And frankly, this is not. I don't think this is a team that can make any kind of deep run in the tournament. It just has some deficiencies that show up from time to time. One thing it does do is generally plays hard. The Hawkeyes generally play hard. It has some spurts that are kind of head scratching, but they don't give up. They try hard, but they don't have a guy like Mara from Michigan, 7'4", who's a game changer. In fact, they didn't have Christoph Tilley, who was a difference maker in the game. He didn't play in the first Ohio State game, which you saw in Iowa City. He made a difference in this one. In fact, there was a table turning, really. Iowa played well inside in Iowa City without Tilly in the lineup for Ohio State. Totally the reverse in the quarter in the game yesterday. But I don't know. Iowa's lost 7 out of its last 10. Granted, it's played some very, very good teams, including Michigan, but I just don't see it. It doesn't have that it factor to me. And when it can't execute down the stretch, uh, it had a chance to tie the game. I question, uh, I either question what was drawn up or I credit Ohio State for taking it away. Because if your option, one of your options was Hausen to take a 3-point shot. And I know McCollum has said, well, that was a pro play by Hausen trying to draw the foul, and it was a foul, and he should have got 3 free throws. Number one option is Bennett Sturts, obviously. Number two option, 2A and 2B, are Koch and Fulgaris, especially the way Fulgaris was shooting in the second half. There's 3 options right there. And Hausen is one of your options, a very inconsistent but streaky 3-point shooter. Depending on him to draw a foul in the corner. Yeah, come on.
And I agree. And I think Ohio State did a really good job of forcing Iowa's hand there. Um, I'm not going to throw it all at Hausen. It was going to be a difficult shot. Caught it, and his momentum was taking him out of bounds, trying to shoot it up there. And like you said, I think trying to draw a foul at that point, but Ohio State didn't bite on it. They just forced Iowa on the double of Sturts to throw it into the corner. Um, no, was it a great shot? Absolutely not. And I think that's going to stick with Iowa people a long time. I'll say that to you, I'll ask you. To me, it looked like Bennett Sturts kind of hit a wall in that game. He got dinged a little bit. Um, hey, what's new in postseason basketball? They're letting people bang on one another and be physical. Doesn't matter if it's in Des Moines or if it's in Chicago or in Kansas City. Gets to the postseason and nobody calls anything. Um, I think the combination of that and the fact he's played 94.3% of all the minutes this year, to me in the second half, it looked like Sturts was pretty tired in that game. And it might not be the worst thing in the world for Iowa to have a week off, to let this team kind of refocus, to get refreshed, because, like you said, Iowa's kryptonite is a pitch. If they go up against a team that's got a 6'11", 7-footer, Iowa's in trouble. Other than that, they match up pretty well with people.
Well, if anybody's going to be tired, it'd be Bennett Sturts. It's no secret how many minutes he plays. If he doesn't play all of them, he plays most of them. And uh, and he's the subject of the best defender on the opposite opposing team. Often, they're jumping him at the top of the key. Uh, he's effective driving to the hoop, but they take that away so much, which places an emphasis on other Iowa players to step up offensively. And lately, it's been Koch, and that's been about it. Banyawa has had some moments. Bulgaris has had some moments. Banks has had a couple moments, but that second and third go-to person, aside from the last couple 3 games in Koch, it isn't there. So when you take away Sturridge, that's the name of the game.
Yeah.
Um, but I think you're right. A little rest won't hurt at all.
And they will get some rest
Yeah.
before they get ready to find out where they're going to go in the NCAA tournament. Going to be fun. Selection Sunday. You mentioned Lenardi and the rest of them. Lenardi's pretty good. I mean, he usually gets every team spot on. Maybe misses one every other year or so. So I'm kind of watching him a little bit more. Our friend Mike DeCourcy, I'm following him too, making sure that those two are kind of on the same page. It's going to be interesting to see. It'll also be interesting to see, Mark, after the 68 are selected, are we going to have an exodus again from the NIT like we did last year and following college football and the bowl season? Oh, I'm mad. I'm not going to go to the NIT.
Well,
We'll
I
be,
think it's quite possible. I think the CBI already canceled that tournament.
they did.
Um, and it should. Uh, but I hope the NIT sticks around. Maybe it's outlived itself, outlived it used to be the tournament years ago, but obviously it's gone downhill. And you're right, that we could have many opt-outs. But for a young team, and Iowa benefited at least once in the NIT that I recall. You got a young team and a chance to, keep that core together for another week or two. I'm not saying I was that team, a team out there. They could benefit from the NIT, but others are mostly disappointed that they didn't make the NCAA field and pack it in.
Yeah. And that'll be on Sunday. And we'll talk about it on Monday and break it all down. Are we going to get picks on Monday?
Um, we could do that, and then we have an opportunity to change our mind
Mm-hmm.
after the Sweet 16's decided.
We can have a redraw.
I'll make a pick on Monday.
I'll
Sure
make
to
a
go
pick.
wrong.
I'll make a pick because Wednesday we got Mark Ironside. We got to go through all the seeds for the NCAA tournament. We'll talk to him live from Cleveland on Wednesday, and then we'll uh, we'll take time during the NCAA tournaments on Friday to have a little show and see how we were so very wrong
Yeah.
from
Well, I
Monday.
know you won't be playing golf this weekend, and that's the prime example why I don't play when it's one day 71 degrees. Get that snowblower working, will you?
Tell you what do they call it in force? 5 to 8 inches Sunday night, depending on where you're at. That's uh, that's going to be a slap in the face,
Not like we haven't seen it before.
and it won't stick around.
Yep.
It won't stick around. All right. We'll be back on Monday with another edition of the Unash Dukes podcast. Go ahead and comment. Had a couple of them, and we'll talk about that coming up on Monday. Thank you for listening and viewing it. Do appreciate all our great viewers out there. Subscribe to the page, Unash and Dukes podcast on YouTube. You can catch our old episodes and see there or crmlivesports.com as well. Thanks to Emel's Hideaway, our presenting sponsor on First Avenue Southeast, right across from Lindale Mall. Bim Ritter Sportswear, 817 2nd Avenue Southeast, downtown Cedar Rapids. Hunt Graphic Innovations in Hiawatha, as well as Dr. John Woolner at Epiphany Dermatology on Council Street Northeast. And our friend Kurt Gustafson at American Family Insurance on Johnson Avenue Northwest in Cedar Rapids. And we'll make pick sure to go wrong on Monday, Mark.
I'll do my homework this weekend.
Sounds good. All right. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. It's been the Unash and Dukes podcast, and we'll talk to you next time.